Shalom, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody is doing well. Well, we're going to talk about a little bit of what I spoke about in my first live stream. You know, the American media, I guess one of the things you must look at is who owns these media outlets. And once you realize who owns the organization, then you will understand why news is being reported like it is. So, many of these folks are from that little land over there, and, they got a problem with reporting the news or having their anchors report the news honestly. So they are creating this illusion that Donald Trump is prevailing, and we know it's all false. Especially somebody like Donald Trump. So the bottom line is at the end of the day, all I can say to the American media, you ain't hurting nobody but yourself. Eventually, you're going to lose your audience because people want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear no fairy tale from y'all. And you are providing a fairy tale, and it is easy to debunk what the US media is saying. It's easy because the other sources are saying otherwise. Now, I've been looking at a variety of different ones online that are foreign. I've been looking at some BBC, some WEON, Sky News, which comes out of Australia. So Al Jazeera. So there's different ones I've been looking at, and I've been getting a lot of good news about the war, and they all have really good footage. But when it comes down to the US, I guess because these owners of networks are in favor of Donald Trump and they're Donald Trump donors, so they are being careful. And plus, they want to see it that way. They want to see that Donald Trump is the one getting the best of the Iranians, and it's just simply not true. It's not true. You know, I don't want to see censored news when it comes down to the war because many of us have relatives or some of you yourselves are in the military. What are we going to do with some fake news when people lives are on the line? And we know rich people do not fight in wars, but you will send anybody off that have less than you off to a war. And y'all, they got a new name for these rich people because so many of these rich, especially rich white men, appear in the Epstein files. Instead of calling them the wealthy class of people or the rich, they got a new name for them. And I know they hate this. A lot of people are now calling the ultra rich, the millionaires and billionaires, the Epstein class. That's their new name, the Epstein class. And they hate that. I think it's kind of funny. But yeah, many of them appear in there. Elon, Bill Gates, all of them. These former, these senators and congressmen and all kinds of people are in there. Andrew, well, formerly Prince Andrew. I don't know how taking a title from somebody is some real punishment. That seems pretty laughable to me. So it doesn't matter what you call him, he's still free, isn't he? Stupid. So anyway, y'all, it is just hilarious, but I do like calling them the Epstein class. I think I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to use that. So, look, you know what? There's been a couple of earthquakes in Louisiana. I saw an article a few days ago about an earthquake hitting Louisiana. So this must be another one. Mm-mm-mm. So, anyway, we're going to listen to how other people are noticing. It's a lot of people noticing how censored the American news is and how biased it is, and them trying to, in a subtle way, side with Donald Trump with the war. And this war should never have been started. If Netanyahu had a beef with Iran, he should have settled that himself. And you know what kind of sent a red flag? When Donald Trump said he thought attacking Iran was going to be a lot like Venezuela. And when you really think about it, y'all, that is probably the way Netanyahu sold this whole thing to Donald Trump. Oh, don't worry about it. If you join us, it's going to be just like Venezuela, just like that. He probably convinced Donald Trump it would be similar, but it's not. It's not. They're nothing alike. But I bet you it was packaged to Donald Trump that way. I don't think he thought that for no reason. I think it was expressed to him that it would be similar. I would not doubt it. So let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Let's see here. Yeah. But in the meantime, y'all, don't forget to pick up your shampoo, 25% off on Etsy, TikTok, and Shopify. Okay. Here. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you.
Currently being censored, particularly on this app. I was talking to a friend today in London, and he was asking me how I feel about all of the stuff going on with Iran. I told him, and he was like, "Yeah, isn't it crazy what's happening over in Israel?" And I was like, "What's happening in Israel?" He's like, "You haven't seen all the bombs that have fallen on Tel Aviv?" And I say confidently, "No, because they have the Iron Dome that doesn't work." And he's like, "Wait, are you telling me you haven't seen any of the bombs that have dropped on Tel Aviv?" And then I thought to myself, "Oh, TikTok was down this week conveniently during the start of the war, and they were down for 2 days because of an Oracle cloud issue. And the same way that when they bought it last month, they were down for 3 days because of an Oracle cloud issue. And then the app it gets handed back to us, and then we don't see anything. So I did some digging, and there are literally so many bombs being dropped right now and thrown at Israel, especially Tel Aviv, that their system cannot actively deflect all of them. Iran is not sending one bomb. They're sending cluster bombs that then do this when it enters the airspace. And Israel wasn't ready for that. And while we're talking about Iran, you have to understand who these people are historically and today. Iran is the founding place of like mathematics and all of those people there. Women, especially in mathematics, they are super geniuses in calculations and all of those things historically, ancient times, and currently. So I think the technology that they have is being downplayed in America. America is telling us and showing us that Iran is some third world nation that does not have capabilities to fight. And the reality is much more gruesome and much more different than that. And to anyone who's watching this or follows my channel for around the world, just know that we are actively being censored. Once this app got into American hands, all the handcuffs were off for them to not show us anything. And that was the beauty of this page. This app was we actively saw conflicts around the world. We saw unadulterated, unfiltered points of view from people from around the world. I haven't seen a single thing since this conflict started about what's actually happening across the ocean. So, if you ever see an American have a take that co- completely conflicts with which what the reality is, we were already one of the most propagandized people on earth. We already do that. But now, even more so, because our media is not talking about it. Traditional news sucks. They don't ever talk about anything. But if they're not talking about it, we're not seeing it here. Meta obviously is never showing everything. We're screwed.
Our government has you guys so brainwashed into thinking that we are winning this war. We're not winning this war. We're making literal TikTok edits about the ships, about the planes, but they're not showing you them taking out any of Iran's stuff. They're just trying to show you their cool military stuff to make it feel like, we're winning, we're just showing off our stuff because we're winning. No, they're showing off the stuff so that they can keep you thinking that we're winning, so that you can keep on being okay with what's going on. Y'all had a little titty attack that I said Iran instead of Iran. I guess I will switch it up. So Iran has only used 2 to 3% of their stockpile. America, we are running out of ammunition, but they're not going to tell you that. And they've shot down several of our fighter jets. And also, they took out all of our US bases. This is not looking good for the United States. It's definitely not looking good for Israel. I definitely feel like they're not reporting the right numbers for American casualties overseas right now because they've shot down several of our jets and they blew up all of our military bases. So, and nobody evacuated the Americans that were over there. It's projected that over 100 Americans are killed so far. And so far, they've only said, I think, 6 to 8, 6 to 8 maybe.
Oof. Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu started this war with Iran. But why is it that I can't watch American news to truly know what's going on? I've got to watch the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. I've got to watch Al Jazeera English. I've got to watch the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I've got to watch ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, to truly find out what's going on. They're not showing us what's happening over Israel, and Israel is being impacted severely with missiles and rockets, etc. They're not showing what's really happening to the U.S. troops because the numbers I'm hearing from out of the country, what's really happened to our troops is not what we're being told. We are being sugar-coated. We're being told things are great when they're not, and we're being misled. And another big thing that we're not being told on, the burn rate. We are burning through these interceptor missiles faster than they can make them. They can only make 650 of the Patriots a year. We are shooting these faster. All the missiles, the THAADs, the SM-3s, all the slingshot, the David stuff, whatever. They're shooting them faster, and Iran knows this. Iran's got thousands and thousands of drones that are getting through, and more are going to get through, not to mention these other rockets that they've not told you about. But you got to listen to the foreign news to know about it. Love here for my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, and the burned LA bulbs. That way we can accurately report what's going on. I know Aaron Pernas does. I try to get my info from outside because what we're being told by the U.S. and by Trump is not what's really happening. Love to hear from everybody. Let's keep each other informed.
So, in case you guys have not heard, the United States is actively censoring information of the Iran war. Now, what do I mean? So, on Instagram and X right now, they're actively censoring new information about the war, whether that be videos, casualty rates, any assets being destroyed, whether it's Iran or United States, it doesn't matter. They're actively taken down, and it's because of one reason: the war is not going the way they expected it to, and it's not looking the best right now. And if public opinion gets eyes on this new information, it could very well turn the already majority against the war into a supermajority. And I encourage you right now, if you have Twitter, or sorry, X or Instagram, try finding information if it's actively being taken down. And it's all done on deliberately on purpose. And I'm not the only one who has noticed this, but this is all actively done, and they're all actively hiding information. I'll keep you guys updated.
I came across something interesting this morning, and I'm going to read you guys something. Just stay with me here. This was written by Alon Mizrahi, and he is a very prominent Israeli journalist. Quote, "We are witnessing history. Iran, to everyone's surprise, is destroying American bases so thoroughly on such a large scale and so decisively that the world is not ready for this. In 4 days, Iran has managed to expand its sphere of military dominance in the region. Iran has destroyed the most valuable and expensive military bases, property, and equipment in the entire world. The American bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia are among the largest military facilities in the world. These facilities have cost trillions of dollars over several decades to build. We are talking about the fact that the bulk of the military spending that has been made over more than 30 years has gone up in smoke. We see radars costing millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, each being destroyed in an instant. We see entire military bases being abandoned and burned, looted and destroyed. And I'm telling you, as far as I know, the US has never suffered such destruction in its entire history, except perhaps for Pearl Harbor, but that was just one attack. No enemy in a conventional war has ever done this to American military forces as Iran is doing right now. It's hard to believe. This military situation is so serious that censorship is blocking almost all new information about this war. If you've noticed, we're getting less and less information every day. 35 years ago, during the first Iraqi war, we were shown endless footage from Iraq. Back then, smart bombs and cameras were a novelty, but every night we were shown nighttime footage. Now we hardly see any videos at all. Understand this. Supposedly, this is the world's largest military power with the world's largest air capabilities. And on the fourth day of the US offensive, supposedly breaking through Iranian defenses, we don't see any signs of American dominance in the Iranian sky. Where are all the video recordings of our planes flying over Tehran or any part of Iran for that matter? American soldiers can't even dream of setting foot on Iranian soil. And to understand how desperate this war is, on the fourth day, you're already hearing the most insane proposal and ideas from the Trump administration. They're proposing sending military escorts for oil tankers leaving the Persian Gulf. What are you even talking about? You want to send American ships into the zone of destruction of thousands of Iranian missiles? Now, no one can get through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians have been preparing for this for decades. They're flaunting the idea of arming Kurdish militias to invade Iran. What the hell are you talking about? Have you seen a map of Iran? It seems the Trump administration has never seen a map of Iran. Do you know how vast it is? What does it mean to invade Iran? Do you think a militia of 10,000 people could invade Iran, or even 50,000 or 100,000? Iran will swallow them up. The US and Israel have already lost this war. The US and Israel can kill millions of civilians in their home. They have powerful bombs and can blow up buildings, but they won't win this war. Iran's military infrastructure and weaponry is deep underground all over Iran. Neither the Americans nor especially the Israelis have any chance of reaching any of it. They're in deep shit. They started something they have no chance of finishing. When this all ends, the US will never return to West Asia. There will be no American presence in the Middle East. I'm telling you this now with certainty. End quote. I don't think they're quite telling the truth about what's going on over there.
We are being censored. Our news media is being censored. Apparently, a bunch of people from all different countries are claiming that the US is losing this war against Iran from what it looks like. A lot of US soldiers have died, and the US is reporting the incorrect numbers. They're not telling us the truth. They're planning to send more soldiers out, and they know that they're not going to make it. If you're being asked to go, don't go. Apparently, there's a hospital, one of the biggest hospitals for US soldiers in another country. I'm not sure what country, but it's at full capacity right now because there's a lot of wounded US soldiers. A bunch of our military bases have been destroyed by Iran, and apparently this is the collapse of the US.
All right, so I've seen other people talking about this as well today, but I think that this message is very important and needs to go far and wide, so I'm covering it as well. There is a piece, article that just came out in Binance Square, March 5th, by Israeli journalist, a very well-respected Israeli journalist, Alon Mizrahi. And what he basically describes in the journal, in this article, is shocking. So we're going to get into it. He says, "We are witnessing history. Iran, to everyone's surprise, is destroying American bases so thoroughly on such a large scale and so decisively that the world is not ready for this. In 4 days, Iran has managed to expand its sphere of military dominance in the region. Iran has destroyed the most valuable and expensive military bases, property, and equipment in the entire world. The American bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia are among the largest military facilities in the world. We are talking about the fact that the bulk of the military spending that has been made up over the last 30 years has gone up in smoke. We see entire military bases being abandoned and burned, looted, and destroyed. And I'm telling you, as far as I know, the US has never suffered such destruction in its entire history, except perhaps for Pearl Harbor, but that was just one attack. No enemy in a conventional war has ever done this to American military forces as Iran is doing right now. It's hard to believe. The military situation is so serious that censorship is blocking almost all new information about this war. And if you've noticed, we're getting less and less information every day. 35 years ago, during the first Iraqi war, we were shown endless footage from Iraq. Back then, smart bombs and cameras were a novelty, but every night we were shown nighttime footage. Now we hardly see any videos at all. And this is not the only report coming out of not even Iran or someplace like that, but Israel, because apparently both the Israeli and US government, from what these reports are alleging, are using similar strategies in censoring their media, their news, what the government is admitting to, even allegedly covering up for casualties that are more than what they want to admit. So, if it's going so well, why the fuck are they lying?
This is warfare. The United States used economic warfare to create chaos in Iran. It started a speech where he said, "I think the Iranian currency will fall." That is the first step of trying to get people to flee from the currency to create a self-fulfilling collapse or panic. Then he explained that the Treasury and its office, OFAC, which enforces these sanctions, put sanctions on institutions around the world to stop doing any kind of business with Iran. Absolutely normal legal business. The idea was that Iran would not be able to export its products, not to be able to engage in international trade. This is warfare. Secretary Bessent said that this worked. It worked brilliantly, he said. By the end of the year, banks had collapsed, the currency had collapsed, and therefore people came out onto the streets. Not one of our mainstream media accurately reported any of this. They all reported the official propaganda of the US government that people came out on the streets to protest the mismanagement of the Iranian regime. And so the most basic fact of what happened in Iran in recent weeks was that the United States used economic warfare to destroy the Iranian economy. And it continues to do so. Absolutely illegal, absolutely disastrous, crushing the lives, the livelihoods, the health, leading to deaths on mass numbers, we know from these sanctions that have been used by the United States in this way in many countries to destroy other countries.
Y'all, the bottom line is now that we are all fully aware, no thanks to the US media, because they sure didn't tell us nothing. Now that we are fully aware every single US military base was destroyed, the US is no longer, you might as well say we're not in the region. Isn't the Most High going to make all of these Gentiles dismantle all the stuff they put up on this earth? Isn't this like the beginning? Every US military base gone. You can't replace that overnight. You know, it means the US will not be in that region for years to come, or will never be going back to that region at all. Wow. They were over there, y'all, for decades. And in just a few days, they have no presence over there anymore. They have none. The only thing they can do is try to put soldiers in hotels and try to accommodate them, but that is really not a good solution for your military. I mean, you know how easy it is to track down, because Iran has already bombed some of the hotels that the soldiers are in. And apparently, they're not going to tell the truth. So if you sent, my question is, if you sent 6 bodies over and the Iranians and others are saying hundreds of the soldiers are no more alive, then where did you put those bodies? That's what I want to know. Where are they? If you only flew 6 over and there's hundreds, where are the hundreds? What did you do with them? Yeah, the boots on the ground, you might as well just you just might as well just say they're not coming out of there. Everybody's coming out of there in a body bag. You can best believe they gonna have so many of their military all over the ground in Iran. Yeah, they're not gonna get anywhere with ground troops. Donald Trump is just sending them to their grave. That's all. But I will keep my eye on everything, y'all. Just think about this. This is after the blood moon. And I said before this whole thing got started that America, you don't win wars anymore. Y'all don't win wars anymore. And now that you are practicing DEI and you're looking for any excuse to throw our men and women out, you really gonna lose. Y'all ain't gonna win nothing with no all white army. You are not winning anything with no all white army. So you can throw us out. I'm kind of glad you are. That means my people are not in harm's way. Here, Pete Hepset, sit down and use DEI to get more of them out, because then that means they're not in harm's way. I'm good. Thank you. And look at the kind of people that are calling the shots, y'all. Pete Hegseth. There are no generals. He got rid of all the black generals and admirals. He got rid of them all. And some of the white generals that are there, they were advising Donald Trump not to do this. And he ignored all of their warnings and went in there with Israel anyway. So with Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth calling the shots, y'all, it's disastrous. Pete is not a high-ranking military guy. He didn't have a high rank at all. So yeah, you're asking for a problem, but at the same time, y'all want to be in somebody's face talking about people will get things on merit. Well, what merit did Pete have other than being on Fox News and being a drunk? What merit did he have? Hell, what merit did Donald Trump have? I mean, seriously, by far the dumbest president America's ever had. But y'all, please tell me what you think. I think this is horrible. I feel sorry for the people that got to follow the commands of these dumbass people. How you doing, Cap? Thank you for your super chat. Bob Marley sang a song called War. Yes, he did. For Israel and USA, what goes around shall definitely come around. Amen. And thank you for your support from my channel. You know, I look, you're a military guy and you know this is a disaster. But Donald Trump is still running around blabbing that this will be over in 4 to 5 weeks. No, it won't, Donald Trump. You better get ready because you're in this for the long haul, buddy. And I think Iran know they're going to wear you out. They already know they're going to wear you out. And where's the allies stepping up with equipment? Did you hear about any ally? Because Donald Trump done ran all the allies off. So America, which one of your allies are going to help you with, munition? Canada, Mexico. How about any of the European nations? I know the UK, but the UK really, when you read the UK, they're really not doing much of nothing. They're not, their support is not strong support. And since they're fighting with Israel, Israel's not going to provide any ammunition to the US because they barely got any themselves. How about anybody in Latin America, Donald Trump? Are they offering up some military equipment and ammunition and anything to the US? How come this big old globe out here and nobody's offering the US any missiles or jets or anything? Nobody? Yeah, that's very telling. That is very telling, y'all. But see, Donald Trump came in office slapping tariffs on everybody and giving the allies all the finger. And you saw how he was going at it with Canada, talking about being the 51st state, and then going for Greenland and still talking about taking Greenland. And look at what he's doing to Cuba, starving those people to death. But I noticed not one ally has said, we're going to help the US win this war. We're going to give you XYZ equipment, ammunition, money. We're going to give you millions of dollars. Nobody, y'all. Nobody. But see, when you think you can go it alone, that's exactly what people are going to let you do. They're going to let you go it alone. Ain't doing so well, are you? I'm just saying. And it doesn't help that the world hates Donald Trump. These countries don't like him. How about African nations? How come you African nations aren't stepping up with your ammunition and equipment and how come you're not stepping up with anything for the US? I'm just saying, y'all. Uh-uh. Well, everybody did. In fact, I was reading back in 2022, or was it 2023, around there, Germany had to stop giving Ukraine their military equipment and missiles and stuff because they said if they gave them any more, they wouldn't be able to defend themselves if a war broke out. So Germany had to cut their, giving Ukraine anything. And I believe France did too. A couple of them said they did not have enough ammunition just to give it all away to Ukraine. Joe Biden is the only idiot that was like scorfing it over by the thousands, giving them helicopters and drones and missiles and missile launchers, and he was giving them every damn thing. Hmm. So if the U.S. don't have anything, who's to blame for that? Mm-mm-mm. And the whole world is watching America go down in flames, y'all. The whole world is watching. Oh, man. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. And I will see you tomorrow on all new topics. Now, I will be talking about the government shutdown. You know the partial government shutdown is still going on. And they're admitting it looked like there is no end in sight. And the TSA officers don't get paid. Well, everything is backed up at the airport, and TSA officers are now calling out sick. They're not getting paid, they're working for free. Nobody can work for free indefinitely. I don't blame them. So, and they're not the only, people that aren't getting paid. A lot of people aren't getting paid that work for the government right now. But TSA, the lines are like a mile long. This may not be a good time for people to travel for real. So, y'all have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon and be on the lookout for my lives. Shalom, family.